right, this is the last show of 2021, guys. What a year it has been. It has been an exciting year. It's been a crazy year. There's been transitions. There's been adjustments, new addition, whatever the case may be for all of us in our life, whether if it's with the Blue Stable, Rashad, me, whatever the case may be. This is the last show of 2021. Maybe we should have done a shot. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure.
We should have.
We should have. But you know what? My crown's in the other room, and I gotta, stay here on camera for you lovely people.
We'll do it for the first episode of next year.
Right. Of next year.
Yeah,
right.
That's what we do.
Salute. So the last episode of 2021. Of course, welcome to the Blue Stable podcast. My name is Michael Terrazas, as always. Joined by me is Rashad McGinnis, man. How 2021, man?
Great year, man. Great year. If you're a Colts fan, especially. Top of the year, we was in the playoffs at the beginning of this year, and we're headed right back for the playoffs again at the beginning of next year. Let's close this year out right. Even though the next game will be in the beginning of next year, but let's close this year out with a good episode, Mike. This is our last episode without Dustin too, as well.
Right. Yeah, something I'm so looking forward to. Definitely more of his very, very interesting takes coming back to the show. I'm getting very antsy to debate with him on that. But that will be later in the show. That will be, well, not in the show, but later in the year, in the next year or so, guys. But nonetheless, the Colts are going to have their home finale this Sunday, or maybe just their last home regular season game. Maybe we might have a home playoff game. Who knows? Well, they're probably going to have a home playoff game. Let's just say that. So, guys, the Las Vegas. I'm sorry, that was actually
You're going to do that about 3 more times.
That's a real mistake. That wasn't intentional. I'm sorry. The Las Vegas Raiders. I'm sorry. The Las Vegas Raiders are coming to town. Now, we have faced the Raiders. This is going to be 3 years in a row or so?
I believe
I'd say 3 or 4, I think. I think it's going to be 4 years in a row, I want to say. I know we played them in 2019 because that's when Jacoby Brissett lost the game for us. 2020 was when we had I can't remember, but we will look at it later in the show, but the Colts can clinch a playoff berth. They control their own destiny. They can clinch it by beating them this Sunday. Once again, they're looking to stay hot. And how to do that at home, they can definitely do it. So real quick, before we get into all that, first, Rashad and I need to discuss business. All right. Now, I'm actually going a little bit off script, if I'm being honest with you guys, because yesterday, whenever y'all are listening to this show, there are 2 big games going on in the college football playoff. Georgia, Michigan going head-to-head. Cincinnati, Alabama going head-to-head. And we need to give our predictions for these games. So, Rashad, start us off, man, for both.
I'm going to start us off by saying the 4 teams that I predicted would be in the college playoffs is in the college playoff. That was my prediction. Mike was going to gloss over the fact that I got all 4 of my teams right. But this is when I predict who will play in the finals. It will be, I'm going to save the one Mike waiting for last. I'm going with Michigan over Georgia. Let's get that straight right now. I'm going with Michigan over Georgia. And then I'm going with, let's be serious, Alabama over Cincinnati, Michael Terrazas, because I know you have a different take on this. I know you have a different take on this. I saw the chat earlier. I saw you spitting hot fire in the chat.
Wow.
So go ahead and tell the people what I'm alluding to.
Well, I mean, you literally just said, let's be real, let's spit facts, but then proceeded to lie and give false hope to the people. So going with Michigan State, going to Michigan, I'll take the Wolverines as well. Ojogbo, he's going to have a big game. Of course, Aiden Hutchinson, he thrives off having Ojogbo as a teammate. That's why he's able to have a lot of sacks. He's really not that good to me. It's just Ojogbo really changes the defense. So Aiden Hutchinson, he's very mid. 40 per time is probably going to be like a 4.9 or something like that.
Very mid.
He's very mid. Very mid, like mid talent.
Excuse me?
4th round grade for me right now. God. So he's pretty trash.
You have been drinking. You took your shot. You took your shot before the show.
I'm an incredible lightweight, yeah. But for real, I'm going to go Michigan. Mm-hmm. I just think physicality from what we saw against Alabama. I mean, we've seen it from Georgia a little bit. They have not. I mean, I really hope very soon, or actually this has been the past few years, that we can stop overhyping the SEC. Yes, they do produce NFL talent, but they're not that tough in the SEC unless you're Alabama or Georgia. And the games I've watched this year, even when they went head to head, have identified that, and the bowl games are identifying that as well. So I think Michigan outmatches Georgia. I think it'll actually be a blowout. I'm going to take Michigan 37-17. And then to the real game that's going to happen first, Cincinnati, Alabama going 1-on-1 in Arlington. This is the game I've been waiting for, and I'm not going to lie, man. I almost bought tickets to this game, but unfortunately, I'm like, you know what? What's more important, Bills or a game? Of course, I had to go with the Bills, so I'm taking Cincinnati in this game. I've been rooting for them all year. Of course, they're the underdog. I think Alabama's favored by 14.5, I believe. So Cincinnati, Desmond Ridder, the weapons, the defense versus the offense. Cincinnati's defense, that's where I'm going to be standing up.
That's the real matchup. That's the real matchup here.
That's going to be best on best. Physicality, talent, speed, all over the place. NFL talent all over the place. So I'm going to take Cincinnati, Michigan, and hell, why not? I'll go with Cincinnati to win it all. Man. This is just me getting on the bandwagon, okay? Do I truly believe they'll win the national championship? No. Do I think they'll beat Alabama? I think they have a really good chance. I just think people are writing them off way, way, way too much, too early. So that's going to be our predictions, guys. We're going to get into some Colts football now, okay? We'll discuss about my right predictions when we come back next week. But the COVID list, things have been crazy. Things have been, all over the place with COVID. But the good news is the CDC basically said, fuck it, we don't care about a pandemic, and they changed the guidelines, and so did the NFL. So to the new guidelines, it's helping us out. Who are we getting back from COVID? Already been activated from the COVID list this week. Quentin Nelson, Darius Leonard, Kari Willis, Zach Pascal, Mark Lewinsky, Rocky Sin, Kamoko, Toure. The people that have been added to the COVID list are Braden Smith, TJ Carey, Malik Jefferson, and Marlon Mack. Now, I think those guys right there will be out for this game, so we might see Matt Pryor at right tackle for Braden Smith. But getting the big guys back, especially the linemen, obviously getting Lock Sin back is going to be big. So for COVID as well, of course, for the Raiders, Carl Nassib, a big piece of their rotation on the defensive line, edge rushers, Kendall Vickers, and then obviously the superstar Darren Waller, who hasn't really been that much of a superstar as of late, but still he's a tight end, and tight ends kill us. Now it won't this time. So from those, of course, the additions of Ryan Kelly coming back. Of course, he was very heartbroken. It was kind of sad to see, him talking about not coming back for the Christmas game because he didn't want his wife to be alone on Christmas after having buried his daughter. So of course our thoughts and prayers are still with them as well. It takes a lot of strength for him to even come back to work. He did say it would help big in his healing process. Paris Campbell is back. Jim Irsay, I'm not sure if he pissed off Chris Ballard or Frank Reich by this, because he usually is not reporting news, but did say Paris Campbell was in practice today. So discussing Paris Campbell just a little bit here. how will he be used? Will he be activated for this game? Will he be activated for next game? Whatever the case may be. Look, I think the conditioning is actually might be a little bit down right now because everybody else obviously is up to speed, up to par. They're in football shape. How will Paris Campbell be? How will he be used? Honestly, I don't see a lot of touches for him. I just see a lot of decoy because even if, he's still a piece that defenses look at. So all the end arounds, the swing passes, the jets, all that goes to Michael Pittman. They could use a Campbell as a decoy, freeing up T.Y. Hilton, freeing up Pittman, and bringing him back to me makes us better because it's a decoy and it can help open up the offense a little bit more. How will he make his stamp by pass catching? I have no idea, but seeing him back will definitely be a huge relief.
Yeah, man, you got to be excited anytime you get a player back that can open up your offense the way Paris Campbell can. I mean, it sucked to see him go down early, especially the same game he caught a monster bomb and just illustrated exactly what his role is, what his role can be in this offense, an offense that desperately lacks explosive talent at the wide receiver position. But beyond Michael Pittman, we've been searching for that guy that can step up. Ashton Doolin has stepped up and done what he can do in what was actually him to do as kind of subbing in for that Paris Campbell role in the offense. But it is good to get him back. Like you said earlier, you spoke about what capacity he will be used in. I don't think it'll be much. Conditioning is real, folks. These guys rehab injuries and they're not in football shape. They don't just come back and get back instantly where they spent all training camp and preseason trying to get to. They don't just snap their fingers and it's just back. So I think if he does play this week, we'll see him in spurts. They'll try to implement him a little more next week for the season closer in Jacksonville. But what I most importantly think he's back for is that playoff run. I think Frank Reich is going to really try to get him back into the offense, get him a little comfortable so he can scheme some things up for him in the playoff run because, let's be honest, not a lot of teams got a lot of tape on Paris. They only seen him in spots, so it's kind of hard to really evaluate how he's going to be used in the offense when you haven't seen him that much. So I think that's a nice little wrinkle that's back to this offense, and this offense needs all the help it can get at wide receiver. So seeing Paris back practicing is a welcoming sign for this Indianapolis Colts team.
What's crazy is Paris is in year 3, and he still hasn't been used the way Frank wants to use him.
That's just hasn't had a chance to. Yeah,
he just hasn't had a chance. And, staying with the wide receivers, and we were talking about this actually a little bit in the chat, with the rest of the guys and talking about T.Y. Hilton, going back to last night's Hard Knocks episode, which we were all excited for, when obviously after Coach Reich announced all the Pro Bowlers and everything, T.Y. Hilton gathered the team around and really gave an inspirational speech, not even just inspirational, something that just reminds you to keep going, something that reminds you that, man, we still haven't even reached the fullest of our potential. And that's the leadership that he provides. If it's leadership, okay. Have the results been there? The results are kind of picking up a little bit, which I'm actually excited for. It's giving me a little bit more calmness when it comes to game day. Yeah, he's had solid games. And, we were talking earlier, Super Bowl, how likely is it? We don't know. But he's mentioned a few times this year already, and he mentioned today how retirement is in the back of his head. He will make his decision with Jack Doyle, said one of his favorite teammates ever, and his decision will reflect Jack's decision. And Jack Doyle, I believe, still has a year, remaining on his contract. T.Y. Hilton, only 32 years of age. He can still play. And the fact that we're talking about this at 32 years old just lets you know how much of an impact injuries can have on a football career, because the last 3 years, neck, shoulder, knee, high, low, ankle sprains, it's been all over the place. And the fact that he contemplated retirement before coming back, and he's mentioned retirement multiple times, it just gets you ready and hoping that we couldn't do it for Andrew Luck. We couldn't do it for Peyton Manning. We couldn't do it for Antoine Bethea, for Reggie Wayne. But for T.Y. Hilton, you want to send him out with a Super Bowl, man. And, will he retire? Will he not? We'll get into that later on as the season goes. But you don't want anything more than to see this guy hoisting up a Lombardi in February.
No, I mean, he's the staple for Indianapolis. Him and Jack Doyle, longest tenured coach. Colts. And he said that his decision will hinge largely on what Jack Doyle decides to do. So, it's a possibility they can go out together. I know Doyle has one more year left on his contract, and maybe that's the incentive for him to come back for one more year. And maybe that ultimately brings T.Y. back for another year. But, I just don't want it to end ugly. I know last offseason it almost did with T.Y. and Ballard basically having a stare down, and see who was going to blink first until Irsay intervened and stepped in to get it done. And I just hope it's not another situation like that. Hopefully, if T.Y. decides to come back, it's just a nice, quiet process. Or if he decides to ride off into the sunset, man, he deserves to go. But he deserves to go on his own terms and not under a situation like it was last year. So hopefully, T.Y. does what he feels like is best for him and his family and his body, most importantly, because he's a small guy and he's been taking hits for a long time. So 32, it's not old, but, it can take a toll on a guy his size. So I definitely understand if his decision is to walk away. And I got nothing but respect for that man and for everything he's done for the city of Indianapolis.
And hey, I'm not even complaining. For people that think like you said, $8 million could be an incentive for him to come back. For those of you that are saying, if he retires, he'll forfeit that money and that'll go to our salary cap. We'll have more money for the free agency. I don't even see Chris Ballard doing that. If he decides to retire, here's the rest of your contract. And because that he likes to do right by his players that way. And that's the way he's always said, take care of your own. I don't know if he'll do that for sure, but I just knowing Chris Ballard, I think that's what he'll do. That's what he'll do for Jack Doyle. So that is a quick conversation we definitely wanted to have with you guys. Getting into the matchups that we like. You already know. We get into it for the preview for every show, the matchups that we like. And this time we're going to start with the matchups that we like. So Rashad, I'm going to start with you, man. The Raiders, streaky bunch, can be hot, cold, whichever Sunday. Which matchups you like?
Oh, man. I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor, man. I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor against any team in the league, probably with the exception of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it seemed like. But I'm going to go get Jonathan Taylor against this Raiders defense. Raiders defense is not bad against the run. It's a pretty decent team. But Jonathan Taylor is due for a big game. I just feel like he is. Last week, he's so talented that he had 107 yards, and people were saying that was a down game for him, Like, that's how ridiculously talented that man is. I know he took the first carry for 41 yards, and the rest of the game he was pretty modest. But I think he's going to have a big game. He's up over 1,600 yards. If he wants a shot at 2,000, which I think is highly unlikely, he needs to go crazy these last couple of games. And we know last year he ended the year off on a 253-yard outburst. This is a game Jonathan Taylor may go for 150, 160, just depending on what his offensive line is actually looking like. I know we don't know about the tackle situation as of right now, what they're going to do as far as Braden. I don't think, is going to play. It should be Matt Pryor. I don't know if Eric Fisher's going to play. He has 2 straight DNPs. So I guess we're looking at Davenport. If Kelly can't go, Fisher can't go, which scares me to death, but we'll figure it out, man. We'll make it work. We showed Jonathan Taylor can run behind any offensive line. This offensive line is guaranteed to be in better shape than it was last week in Arizona. So I think Jonathan Taylor will be fine.
Yeah, definitely. I like it. And I'm actually going to stay with I'm going to stay on offense. I'm going to take our receivers against their secondary. Right now, KJ Wright, Casey Hayward, those guys are on the COVID list, but they were put on Monday, Tuesday. So they just might be ready to go with these new guidelines in. They just might be ready to go for Sunday. Now, again, Darren Waller was placed on that later on in the week, so he will be out for this game. Wide receiver Brian Edwards, who is essentially maybe their number one guy now, him or Hunter Renfrow, who is really a sneaky good player. He was a nobody at Clemson and then had a breakout game in the biggest game of the year and made a name for himself. And now he's at 936 receiving yards on the year. So I'll take our receivers against their secondary. You know, T.Y. Hilton coming on a little bit, Michael Pittman Jr. having a good game last week, really going to keep that going. I mean, when you really look at it, I mean, here, I'll read the names, guys. I'll read the names. All right. Casey Hayward Jr., Trayvon Merrick, Dallin Leavitt, Brandon. Oh, man, Brandon Faison. I think right now the Raiders are just all over the place on defense. You know, I think their defensive line might be their strongest. You know, Yannick Ngakoue, Max Crosby, who is a Pro Bowler.
That's my matchup. I like.
Oh, my Lord. Yannick Ngakoue and, you know, Jonathan Hankins, former Colt Jonathan Hankins, on the defensive line, Quentin Jefferson, of course. But the linebackers really all over the place. The secondary got mad love. Still got mad love for my guy Trayvon, man. Still got mad love for him. But we're probably going to have to pick on him a little bit. I don't know. I don't think I would pick on him. He's actually been one of the better rookie secondary players this year. He's actually graded as one of the better ones in the league. So I wouldn't test him too much on the deep ball, especially because he's got size, standing at 6'2", and definitely got size. Don't want to test him too much down the field. So let's get into matchups that we don't like a little bit. All right. So I think I heard Rashad say earlier, you know, like maybe 2 minutes ago. I'll actually let him go first on this one since he kind of already announced it.
Yannick Ngakoue and Max Crosby are coming off the edge, you know, and that's been our Achilles heel. Whoever's lined up over Eric Fisher has been having a day. You know, they don't always wreck the game, but it seems like they're always really close to wrecking the game if they don't wreck the game. So whoever decides to line up over Eric Fisher, if Eric Fisher is even playing, or even worse, whoever decides to line up over Julian Davenport, can be in for a day. Both of those guys, man, are above average pass rushers. Yannick Ngakoue, I believe, have 9 sacks on the year. I think Max Crosby is somewhere around 6 or 7. They're both extremely productive. They both have great get off. Max Crosby has a motor that just doesn't quit. Yannick Ngakoue's physical freak. I really was hoping the Colts made a run at him last offseason when we was in desperate search of a pass rusher, although Ballard decided to double up in the draft. Hopefully, we can find a way to scheme up some protections. Maybe we keep a running back in the chip sometimes. Maybe we go max protect on some of these play actions to kind of give Carson Wentz some time to attack that secondary that Mike is talking about, because the secondary is really beat up. And they're not very good pass defense, even when they are healthy. The Raiders run a lot of single high. They run a lot of man. So it'll be easy to exploit them in some crossers and some mesh that we all know Frank Reich loves to run. So hopefully we can find a way to block, to keep those two guys blocked. But right now, if they're going one-on-one all game, that matchup terrifies me. Mike, what you got?
Okay, so that was going to be like the only legitimate matchup that I didn't like, the pass rushers over Eric Fisher or Julian Davenport. I got faith in Matt Pryor. He's played well at the position when he stepped in for Braden Smith. What was it, for like 4 or 5 games or so? So that's the only legitimate matchup that I don't like. Honestly, everywhere else, I love the matchups. But if there's one area where I had to think, man, I don't like this for the Colts, it would have to be the Raiders passing game against our secondary, honestly. Yes.
That was my second one.
Rocky Sin, Isaiah Rodgers, Xavier Rhodes, Kenny Moore, Pro Bowler Kenny Moore. We got to address them as that now. Pro Bowler Kenny Moore, they have done a great job. Yes, fix your tie.
Mm-hmm.
Kari Willis, George Odom, the game of his life last week. We know they're playing well, and I acknowledge that. And I have complete faith in them. But like I said earlier in the show, the Raiders are streaky. One game, they're coming out and they're firing on all cylinders. Derek Carr's having a great game. Wide receivers are in sync. But then the next game, they're playing like they did against the Broncos. They're playing like they did against the Browns. But then they turn it on and then they go down to Arlington and beat Dallas the way they did. And then they're streaky. And if they're going to be streaky, Brian Edwards, Hunter Renfrow, Deshaun Jackson, Morrow, the tight end, Josh Jacobs. These guys can get hot, and Derek Carr can get hot. Now, this is all going to predicate on how successful our defensive line is against their offensive line, which I don't think is very good. But Derek Carr's ability to get out of the pocket, step up into the pocket, run is really going to be a huge key here. So their passing game against our secondary got to hold up, got to get pressure, got to affect Derek Carr. You have to. Of course, I love Kenny Moore versus Hunter Renfrow. Give me Kenny. I love Rocky Sin versus Brian Edwards. Give me Rocky Sin. Isaiah Rodgers versus Deshaun Jackson, a vet, a speedster. Still, I would like Isaiah Rodgers in that. I do like it. But if the Raiders come out on their A game, A+ game, it's going to be a long, nervous day, honestly.
Derek Carr could get hot, man.
Carr can get hot, and he's a good quarterback. I just think playing on the Raiders has really not allowed him to really focus on or really put out his MVP type level that he was in, 2014, I want to say?
I think it was when he got hurt.
He got hurt against us. I think.
Yeah.
I can't even remember who made the sack. Eric Walden, Robert Mathis.
I can't remember either, but yeah.
Someone Trent Cole. That's who sacked Derek Carr. And it was like the second to last game of the season. He was on the MVP tear, and then he broke his fibula. So I think he should demand a trade, honestly, go somewhere. Hell, maybe even, I don't know, go to Cleveland.
Swap Baker Mayfield and Derek. I thought you were about to say Indy. Mike, I was about to hang up this Zoom call.
Honestly, I would take Derek Carr if we already didn't have Carson Wentz. Honestly, I would.
Yeah, me too.
He plays with fire.
If we didn't have a quarterback, I would take. I like Derek Carr.
Yeah, I like him too. So that's the area that I'll say, kind of has me a little bit on edge because this is still a week-to-week league in the NFL. We're playing hot, but also the Raiders are fighting for their playoff lives. They have a huge chip on their shoulder. Everything that has gone wrong for them this year, John Gruden, unfortunate tragedy with Henry Ruggs, all this stuff going around. They have a chip on their shoulder that they want to prove. So we got to get into the keys to the game, keys to victory. All right. We're going to go 3. We're going to go 2 with me. We're going to go 1 with Rashad, and I will go first. First key to victory: no turnovers on offense. Offense, do not turn the ball over. Carson Wentz, no. Michael Pittman, no. Jonathan Taylor, no. I was thinking about saying it, but I don't want to jinx them. No.
I think I'm going to go with something real specific. I'm going to go with the play action game. We're going to run the ball well. We're going to do that regardless. That's going to be what it's going to be. But it's something we're going to go to. That's our staple. But to be able to have a counterpunch off of that run game is, I think, the next step this offense has to take. A consistent play action game, we know what it does to a defense. We know what it does to linebackers and safeties. It gets those guys creeping up. And we know that's how Frank Reich schemes up most of his big plays. Most of his shot plays for Carson come off of play action. And Carson, I need you to sometimes, settle for that shallow crosser that's coming across the field and not have to look down the field all the time on those play action plays. Mm-hmm. You don't have to take the high risk play so much. Sometimes there's an underneath guy running free. We've seen several times the check down was open. And if you hit some of those check downs in stride, they can break for long plays. If you give those players opportunities to make plays after they get the ball, like we saw Mo Alley Cox go for a 37-yard gain, the slowest 37-yard gain I've ever seen in my life. But we saw it happen. Just hit a guy in stride underneath sometimes and let them do the work for you. You don't always have to go for the big play. And I like the fact that you're protecting the ball as well as you have. Lowest interception rate in Colts history right as of this point. Hopefully you can continue to just do your thing, man, and make that play action game a focal point this week against that weak Raiders secondary.
There you go. And my next one, honestly, it's going to be a key, but also I'm actually going to put a stat prediction out there. Get after Derek Carr, and I think we log 6 sacks on Sunday. I say we get
divvy
6
them out.
sacks.
Divvy them out. Who gets what?
2.5 goes to Buckner.
Damn.
0.5 goes to Odengbo.
Okay.
So we're at 3.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll say Kwity Paye gets 2.
What?
Kwity Paye gets 2. Kenny Moore gets 1.
Wow.
I'll say that.
If you call that correct, I will come on the next show and call you the greatest sports mind that I've ever met in my life. If you predict that right.
All right.
If you predict that right, you're the GOAT.
2.5 for Buckner. Odegbo gets 0.5. Kwity Paye gets 2. Kenny Moore gets 1. That is my stack prediction, but also another key to the game. You have to affect Derek Carr. Get home. Mm-hmm. We see a lot of times we get our hands on him, but we have to get home. Don't get on the street and drive by the driveway and just completely miss getting home. You gotta get home. So that leads to our predictions. Rashad, home regular season finale, because we're gonna have another one in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Home regular season finale. You imagine Lucas Oil is gonna be electric. It's gonna be wild. Also, shout out to the Colts fans. There was a lot of Colts fans in Arizona Saturday night. Huge, huge props to you guys. Now, Rashad, what are we thinking?
Man, we're not going to mess around with this one. I got the Colts, and I got them 31-17. 31-17. Colts win this game comfortably. I do think the Raiders will come out swinging, but we know this Colts offense. They can score the ball. They're a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense, respectfully, in DVOA. So I expect this Colts team to come out and perform just the way they have been, man. I think they forced a couple turnovers at defense, the opportunistic defense. We didn't get one last week, which was uncharacteristic, but we will bounce back this week with a couple. Like Mike said, get Derek Carr rattled, make him uncomfortable. And I think you can even force a fumble or two from Josh Jacobs, who has a couple fumbles this year already.
Yeah, like he said, we're not going to play around with it. We're going to go the Colts. I think the Colts are just better in all 3 phases, everywhere around the field. I'm going to take the Colts. I'm going to take them 34. And I do think the Raiders will make it an interesting game. And I will say we win 34-24. I still got to give the Raiders their respect. They're going to be fighting. And I think Derek Carr might make a couple plays. But, hey, like I said, 6 sacks. 6 sacks, it better happen. All right. So, guys, it has been an amazing 2021. It still amazes me how quick time is flying in our lives. But, hey, like we say all the time, live your best life. 2021 has come and gone. Now, 2022 is here, and we're going to start it off with a bang, and we are going to start it off with a Super Bowl championship run. All right.
And this episode of the Blue Stable Podcast was brought to you by the Center of Disease Control. All right, man, we out, man.
Hey, man, we're out, guys. Once again, if you're listening on YouTube, make sure to hit a like, comment, subscribe. If you are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, make sure to be following, rate, review, all that stuff. It helps us out. We will love if you guys were able to do that for us. 2022 is coming. The playoffs are coming. The Super Bowl championship is coming. Get ready. Get your tickets. Get ready. Obviously, open up your schedule, and we'll see you Sunday. Guys, go Colts. Happy holidays.